Welcome everyone to City Council Business Meeting for Wednesday, December 8th, 2021. Please let's rise and say the pledge of allegiance. Of the United
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Scanlon. Councilwoman Riley. Is Bull Marker absent for now? Councilwoman Friedman.
Present.
Councilman Burns. He looks like he's connecting. Councilman Strawn.
Present.
Councilman Scanlon.
Then at the next one.
Present. And President Rasnetti.
Present.
Councilman Burns, are you here?
I'm here, yes.
Okay. So that's one absent. Riley.
Great. Okay, so we have the approval of minutes. Councilman Scanlon.
Thank you, Madam President. I ask for unanimous approval of the minutes from the November 21 business meeting and 19th, 2021 special business meeting.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we're going to move on to our public hearing for tonight. We have one for the annual action plan regarding the CDBG programs. And I will ask the clerk to tell you the details. We have 5 minutes to talk about this particular issue and ask folks to be respectful. Thank you. Clerk?
Okay. And also we'll let the record show that Councilwoman Riley is in attendance. Okay, so we do have one public hearing tonight. The City Council and the Mayor will now hold a public hearing regarding permit ordinance 21-60, which is authorizing the mayor to submit the FY47 annual action plan and to accept any and all funds allocated by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development from the CDBG, ESG, and home entitlement programs. Those wishing to speak via Zoom, please click the raise hand button and leave it raised, and we will allow you to speak one by one. Each speaker will be given 5 minutes to address City Council on this public hearing and should state their full name and if they live or work in the city of Binghamton. Okay, our first speaker is Tina Chronopoulos. We will let them speak now.
Good evening, can you hear me? Great, hi, my name is Tina Chronopoulos. I live on Laurel Avenue. I'm here to address you during this public hearing, and I am less prepared than I would like to be. Partly, I guess that is because, like you, I'm an incredibly busy person, and also because you still have a tendency to post things sort of with very little time for somebody who works a full-time job to review the materials that you make available to the public. And I know that this isn't directly related to the CDBG budget, but this has been pointed out by some of your council members, colleagues, that materials are regularly not shared on time or not shared at all, or not even shared when people follow up, you know, and there seems to be, I don't know, sort of a disconnect, a communicative disconnect, if you allow me the term. In any case, so given that I've had very little time to review the documents that have been made available to the public, I can't really speak too much on this. I do notice that compared to what the allocations have looked like in the past, I'm happy to see that youth programming now has gone up by hundreds of thousands of dollars to almost $700,000. But I would like to point out that, of course, it's only $99,000 that is going to actual youth programming, and $600,000 is going to the youth center, which seems to be the sort of bijou project that Mayor David has put on the table to make himself look good and take care of those poor people who live in that poor neighborhood. Although I don't want to disagree that a healthy neighborhood program can only also strengthen the neighborhood itself. However, as I am looking at some of these other numbers here, I am dismayed to see that there isn't really anything for housing and rehab that is comparative. You will, of course, have heard public comment, folks from the community, and you will also have heard experts who work in the field, who work directly with folks who are unsafely or not housed at all, who have told you the big problems that exist in Broome County, in Binghamton, when it comes to the lack of affordable housing. And I would like it to be on the record. Of course, you're recording this, so hopefully it will be, that City Council, whenever it gets a chance to vote in a way that would make housing available in an affordable way, or would push policies or push for legislation, or indeed anything to make it possible for affordable housing to be even put into discussion or otherwise made available, that you consistently vote against this. So I am dismayed, I repeat myself, that housing rehab doesn't get as much money as it might otherwise do. And that is where I am going to end. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak, please click the raised hand button and leave it raised.
Okay, so I don't see any more hands raised, so we can move on. I'll entertain a motion to close this public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing?
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second, Madam President.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. So we'll also need to set some public hearings for our next meeting in December, and I will have the clerk announce those right now.
Okay, so we have 3 different public hearings that we need to set for our next meeting. The first one is Binghamton City Council and the mayor will hold a public hearing regarding RL 21-261, which is a resolution authorizing a grant application to the New York State Office of Community Renewal, Community Development Block Grant, COVID-19 Response Program. The second one is Binghamton City Council and the mayor will hold a public hearing regarding RL 21-281, which is an ordinance to modify the fire station bond. And the third one is Binghamton City Council and the mayor will hold a public hearing regarding RL 21-288, which is an ordinance to modify the 2015 bond for the reconstruction of State Street. These public hearings will take place during the next regular City Council business meeting at 6 p.m. on December 22nd, 2021 in City Hall and virtually via Zoom. Residents wishing to submit comments may do so electronically by emailing their comments prior to 1 p.m. on the day of the meeting to clerk@cityofbinghamton.com or virtually via Zoom during the meeting. For any questions, please contact the city clerk's office.
Thank you, Clerk. We will now move on to public comment. We have 5 minutes to speak. I ask that you are respectful, and I will let Lee tell you how you can participate.
Yes. Again, those wishing to speak, please click the raise hand button via Zoom and leave it raised, and we will allow you to speak one by one. And you'll be given 5 minutes to address City Council. And each speaker should state their full name and if they live or work in the city of Binghamton. Anyone wishing to speak should click the raise hand button.
Clerk?
Councilwoman, go ahead.
Yes, I just received an inbox message from one of my constituents on the Zoom saying they're not able to raise their hand, but would like to comment. Mr. Solak just messaged me. Is there any way we can acknowledge him?
So our
I'm
first
here.
person to comment is John Solak.
I don't know what I did wrong on the public hearing. I don't know. Okay, the city shortly, if it hasn't already, will receive a human rights complaint. I've seen the complaint. I've looked at the index number. It is Jablon versus the city of Binghamton and Mayor Richard David. It alleges sexual harassment, among other things, withholding of city funds through the county for work that was done to gain sexual favors. Now, I've remarked on this before. Ken Frank, and there's dozens of emails, is handling this matter, not for the city, but for Mayor David. And to my knowledge, Mayor David doesn't have an attorney in any of these matters, just like if you remember the fake star exemption that the mayor claimed. Never had an attorney in that. Ken Frank was representing him. So I think Ken Frank's an officer of the court. He's used terms like extortion and other things. He's responding to two of the mayor's sexual partners. This is a matter of record. I've seen the text. This is a lot worse than Andrew Cuomo. From what we know of Andrew Cuomo, lot worse. He's placed the city at risk. He's already cost the city thousands of dollars in legal time on Ken Frank's end. So what are we going to do about this? Now, people may have varying opinions on Emily Jablon. That's not the issue. That's not the issue. This is an issue of a mayor gone wild. And I don't care if he goes wild. I just want him to pay his own attorney's fees. Let's get it straight. Let's find out what's going on there. Now, we're not getting good communication from the police department, that's for sure. Asian gentleman, BU graduate student, Kai Leo, excuse me, the way I pronounce that. He's got a GoFundMe page. He was brutally beaten at Rec Park. He says, in his words, it was a hate crime. He was robbed. He needed emergency brain surgery at Wilson Hospital. He's got scars. Everything's on the GoFundMe page. We've heard nothing from the police department, nothing from the mayor. This was about a fortnight before the election. And yet we've heard nothing from the university. Look, we've got to know what's happening in our city to protect ourselves. You know, if there's a hot crime area, current crime area, I've got to know. I'm an old man. I don't want to walk around and get beaten to a pulp like this graduate student did. What's going on here? Our police department, Joe Zukoski, is using omerta. This is their thing of theirs, the police department. It's our police department. We need answers. We need real-time information, not just to act like this is a great city. So the university's irresponsible. If I can pick it up on GoFundMe, the police department needs to know what's going on. He reported it to the police. He's got a copy of the police report. And you guys You ladies and gentlemen need to know what's going on in the city. So we can talk about skating rinks till we're blue in the face, but we better solve this problem. And now, the linchpin, one of the linchpins of the CRAM campaign was to bring up public record stuff on Joe Burns's finances. This information was rather dated, perhaps a decade or more. Now, we have a police chief who has the same type, worse yet, at least a couple of bankruptcies on the public record. And for some reason, this is considered putting in this
You have
high
1 minute.
position. So I suggest this: if Mr. Cram is concerned and said Mr. Burns couldn't manage the city's finances because of public record stuff relating to his personal finances, how can he allow Joe Zukoski to control tens of millions of dollars at the police department when he has the same or worse on his public record? So let's get it out. I can't find another bankrupt police chief in the upstate area. You find one and I'll take all this back. Find me another police chief that's been bankrupt that has judgments up the yin yang.
Okay, anyone else wishing to speak, please click the raise hand button. Our next speaker is Tariq Abdulzam. We'll allow them to speak.
Good morning or good evening. It's been a long day. I just want to follow on what the previous caller stated, talking about financial records. And I think it's just the hypocrisy of the Republican leadership on council, the city Republicans, under the immoral, non-ethical leadership of, Master of Slime, Bijoy Dadam. Apparently you all feel it's okay to take all of Joe Burns' personal financial information from more than a decade ago. You're okay with centering that in a campaign. You're okay with misrepresenting the information. You're okay with lying about certain aspects of his financial records. You're okay with that. But then when I have been advocating for more than 2 years to subject public servants, not private citizens at the time Joe was, but public servants who are making decisions where there can be present conflicts of interest, trying to get you all to actually complete objectively and accurately your own personal financial information, you don't care. You don't want to do it. So you'll take Joe and you'll drag him through the mud publicly of information that wasn't even relevant to his leadership, that was misleading, that was misaccurate. But then when there's been a proposal by a citizen, again, to improve transparency, accountability, ethics in government, and subject you all to disclosure, bringing sunshine and sunlight to governance to try to eliminate conflicts of interest, you don't want to do it. That is hypocrisy at its greatest level. We have whatever Mr. Solak was talking about a womanizing mayor, the most corrupt, unethical, dishonest mayor this city and this region has ever seen. You don't care. We have a serious problem in downtown Binghamton, has been for years. If you listen to women, roofies, rapes in the downtown Binghamton restaurant scenes and bar scene. Are you doing anything about that? And then they have to, we wonder why some of us laugh when you hear these, moral polemics, fake theater by some of you talking how righteously you care about those in our community, how righteously you care about women, how righteously you care about decency and civility and respect. We see you. That's the problem. Is you're just hypocrites. You're jokes. Just speechless. Just speechless. The last thing I'll say is, again, as I always do, the assessment in our system, our property tax assessment system in our community, one of the most outdated in the state, perhaps the most outdated of an urban city, more than 30,000. You're just letting foreign LLCs, hedge funds, equity firms, institutional investors from out of the area extract incredible amount of wealth from our community on the backs of longtime homeowners. Mr. Cram, mayor-elect, said during the campaign that he doesn't want to pursue revaluation because it will hurt legacy homeowners. I'm going to give Mr. Cram the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to assume that was just a political soundbite. He was directed to say, maybe it's just he has not seen all the information. I'm going to give him the benefit of the
You have
doubt.
1 minute left.
But it's a joke to suggest that. When I shared with you last time, and you could take 6 properties, just 6 properties, all student rentals that were purchased by a foreign LLC, a Honduran LLC, and a New York City equity firm. If all 6 of those property were assessed at just 80% of their market value, the last sale price, we'd have almost $500,000 in additional tax revenue that we would put in a tax relief bucket that you would then equitably distribute to other homeowners to lower their tax bill. Just 6 properties, $500,000 in the tax relief bucket. It is immoral and unethical that you continue to do nothing and not talk about this. You have the power legislatively to establish a workforce, a task study group, do something, even if
Your
this
5 minutes is up.
administration chooses not to. Happy holidays.
Anyone else wishing to participate in public comment, please click the raised hand button. Okay, our next speaker is Tina Chronopoulos.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, super. My name is Tina Chronopoulos. I live on Laurel Avenue. Yeah, God, I don't know where to start. It's like I look at those of you who are brave enough to show your faces, and some of you I really appreciate, and others, I don't really appreciate so much because of the double standards that you bring to your work, and you are not even really ashamed of hiding those double standards. So one of the things that I thought I would point out is that I noticed that for the sewage treatment plants, there's going to be a legal fee line for $145,495.10, y'all. And if the city and Johnson City had taken their oversight of the sewage plant more seriously over the last 10 to 15 years and had acted on when the employees of the plant, whom the mayor famously has undermined in a public meeting that was famously not recorded, right? If you had actually listened to the people who work at the plant, you probably wouldn't have incurred those fees, and you probably would have been able to stop some of the damage that occurred there. But I guess you don't care because it's easy to flush the toilet, as it were. Something else that I noticed is that 72 Court Street is going to be sold to Yonati Development. I am curious to know whether plans are available to see what the development is going to look like there, whether there is going to be a provision for affordable housing and not fake luxury housing, which I have come to understand in this country, when something is called luxury, it's just normal. So I'm wondering if you're going to make that a thing, so that people who have to work for minimum wages are going to be able to live in our city. And then I also see that there is a provision here to extend a Texas pilot agreement with Transurban Housing Associates, who own or manage Woodburn Court #2. And so apparently that was signed in 1981 and has just come to an end. And you are now going to extend that for another 15 years. What exactly does that mean? Are you basically, by doing this, forfeiting or making it possible for this entity not to pay the taxes that they actually own for this entire development, by therefore giving them a break, when in fact they're probably not necessarily taking very good care of that development? I have been there and it doesn't look so super down there. So why are they getting a tax break exactly? Are we really well off? Do we have a lot of money, or are you just like, cool, we have a slush fund that we appropriated by some smart legal shenanigans, that ARPA money that you moved into the general fund and that you now just sort of fling around however you see fit? Yeah, no, I didn't think so. And then finally, I guess we are still waiting for an apology for the personal attack made on a hot mic by our mayor, the one who has that email address, City Boy, which I still think is very funny. Curious to know why he didn't spell it BOI. I think that would have been indicative of some kind of wit, I guess. So no one's apologized for that comment, when the mayor said that she doesn't know what she's talking about, when he was basically talking about Dr. Angela Riley. That was at the beginning of the memo. We're still waiting. Sophia Rasaniti, president of City Council, are you going to step up? Are you going to do something about this? You're always so quick to get upset about personal attacks. Only when they're about you, of course, right? Are you going to support your colleague over here? Are you going to ask the mayor to apologize? Are you going to go around the table and ask your colleagues what they think about this personal attack? Are you going to do that? I see you. I don't think you will. Anyway.
Your time is up.
Take good care.
If there are any other hands raised for public comment.
Okay, so if there are no other hands raised, we can move on to our next item. At Monday's work session, it looked like we came to a consensus on the 2022 City Council meeting calendar. So unless there's any discussions, questions, or anything regarding this, I will entertain a motion to approve the calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Great, thank you. Let's move on into tonight's preferred agenda. Would anyone like to pull anything from the agenda before we proceed? Okay, thank you. I'll have the clerk introduce the preferred agenda items.
Okay. So the first item on tonight's preferred agenda is introductory ordinance 21-136, considered in finance. And this is an ordinance to amend the 2021 Binghamton-John City Joint Sewage Board budget for increased costs of chemicals and sludge and waste disposal.
Any discussion?
Next, we have introductory ordinance 21-137, considered in finance. This is an ordinance to amend the 2021 water budget to pay increased costs of chemicals.
Any discussion?
Next, we have introductory ordinance 21-139 considered in finance. And this is an ordinance to amend the 2021 golf fund budget for professional services and equipment/repairs.
Any discussion? Okay, next.
Next is introductory ordinance 21-140 considered in finance. And this is an ordinance to amend the 2021 general fund budget to transfer funds for fire training at SUNY.
Any discussion? Next.
Next, we have introductory ordinance 21-141 considered in finance. And this is an ordinance to amend the 2021 sewer budget for the sewage treatment plant and overtime.
Any discussion? Next.
Next, we have introductory ordinance 21-142 considered in finance. And this is an ordinance to amend the 2021 sewer budget for legal fees.
Any discussion? Next.
Next, we have introductory ordinance 21-143 considered in planning. And this is an ordinance to update the contract of sale of 72 Court Street.
Any discussion? Next.
Next, we have introductory ordinance 21-144 considered in finance. And this is an ordinance to amend the 2021 treasurer budget to account for parking fines collected.
Any discussion?
Next, we have introductory resolution 21-98 considered in finance. And this is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a payment in lieu of taxes extension agreement with Transurban Housing Associates for Woodburn Court 2.
Any discussion? Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you, Madam President. I wanted to speak on this legislation to address something that was brought up by one of the callers. And I think that they raised a good point about pilots sometimes allowing businesses or organizations to sort of get away with spending or giving us less money than we would receive with if they were to pay the regular rate of taxes. And so I think pilots they ought to be used, what is the word that I'm looking for? You know, we should think long and hard about who ought to get a pilot. My general feeling is that for-profit businesses, maybe not. However, I do want to speak in favor of this pilot in particular because I was able to meet with some of the people from the management company of Woodburn Court 2 actually all the way back in May, and they told me some interesting things. And it seems, in my opinion, this seems like one of the instances where a pilot is warranted. So some of the things I'm reading from the notes that I took at that meeting, the pilot allows them to keep the housing affordable, and there's 50 apartments fully subsidized by Section 8, and they can support people who make $0 all the way to people who pay market rate for the apartments. So in this instance, if a pilot is able to, according to them, allow them to keep the apartments at an affordable rate, this is kind of textbook, again, in my opinion, textbook, the sort of ideal situation where a pilot ought to be pursued. So I just wanted to give a little bit of context because I know that was brought up by one of the callers. So thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, next.
Okay, and the last item on tonight's preferred agenda is introductory resolution 21-99 considered in finance. And this is a resolution authorizing the mayor to amend supplemental agreement number 3 for USA COE NYSDC pipe/conduit inspection and maintenance/rehabilitation work.
Any discussion?
Call for question.
Councilwoman Riley?
I said call for question.
Oh, thank you. Okay. What? Make a motion. To approve the,
Madam
preferred
President,
agenda.
motion to approve the preferred agenda.
Second,
Second.
thank you. Full roll call, please.
Councilman Scaringi,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Strawn, Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
and President Rosnetti.
Aye.
That's 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Great, that passes. So now we have one item on non-preferred agenda that has a seeker. It's introductory ordinance 21-138, considered in planning. I believe this would be Councilman Scaringi.
Thank you, Madam President. This is introductory ordinance 21-138, an ordinance authorizing the sale of 110 Park Ave to Jake A. Brick for $350. There's a required state environmental quality review act, and so I will submit a number of motions to the body in support of that. Make a motion to declare City Council as lead agency under the State Environmental Quality Review Act or seeker.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Council-
Make a motion to identify the proposed action as listed under seeker.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion to issue a negative declaration under seeker for the following reasons. This is a vacant lot in a residential area. The purchaser owns the adjoining property at 108 Park Ave. The proposed use is green space. The transfer will preserve green space and provide for future maintenance. This transfer is made as part of the city sideline program.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, so we'll take a full roll call.
Okay, Councilman Scaringi,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Strawn, Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
and President Rosnetti.
Aye.
That's 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, Councilman
Madam President,
Scaringi, please
I
continue.
ask for unanimous consent for introductory ordinance 21-138, an ordinance authorizing the sale of 110 Park Ave to J.K. Brigham for $350.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Call the question, Madam President.
Question with call, roll call, please.
Councilman Scaringi,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Strawn,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
and President Rosnetti.
Aye.
That's 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay. So we are now moving on to council member comments. And tonight, we'll
Hey.
start with,
I-
yeah,
I apologize for interrupting. I have a quick question. Was there supposed to be an item for the, even one of the callers referred to it, the sale of the property at 79 or 72 Port Street? I wasn't sure if that was on the,
Yes, that was on the preferred agenda.
Madam President, point of information, that was introductory ordinance 21-143. It updated the contract.
okay, that was on the preferred agenda. Okay, I apologize. Thank you.
that was fine. Thank you. So I'm sorry, we were
Councilman,
with
that
Councilman
was on
Strawn.
preferred because there was no seeker, because the planning commission had reviewed the plans and had already done seeker.
So we will start with District 6, Councilman Strong.
Okay, thank you, Madam President. And I apologize, just a quick thanks to the city and DPW. I know they had some issues last week, but they did get everything picked up by the late in the evening a week ago, and looks like they got everything back on track yesterday at this side of town. So I want to thank them for doing that. And that's really all I have for tonight. I respectfully ask. I'm gonna take off in a second. My daughter's receiving an award tonight at BU. So I just wanted to thank everybody. Have a happy holiday season, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Strong. Have a good night.
Tell her congratulations.
Thanks, Joe. I appreciate it. I really do. Thank you.
So next up, we have Councilman Scanlon.
Thank you, Madam President. Just real quick, I want to like to shout out to the Binghamton, the men and women of the Binghamton Fire Department and the men and women of the Binghamton Police Department. Thank you for your service. That's all I have, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Squingy.
Nothing this evening, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Riley.
Thank you, Madam President. Again, thank you to all of the code enforcement and zoning workers that I've been speaking to quite frequently, trying to resolve some of the issues in the 3rd district. As Mr. Abdalazim mentioned, there was a major property sale in the 3rd, and it means we will be impacted. There will be some changes because a lot of single family units have been sold with the intent of becoming rentals and different types of rentals. And so we can talk about that later. Nevertheless, in the 3rd, there are still some things lots of great things happening. I will start off by talking about things happening in Noma. So, there is a community center north of Maine. They are doing a lot of great things. This weekend will be a breakfast with Santa. So children, city residents, all city residents, not those just living in the 3rd, will be able to come over, have breakfast with local principals that looks like Santa, who will be Santa, and it will allow children to shop for their parents at the same time. So I encourage each and every one to participate if they can on that Saturday. And let me go backwards. This Friday, the Lord's ACES program will be giving away laundry supplies. As we know, lots of families have been impacted by this COVID virus and job shifts, what have you, and they are doing a giveaway to aid in supplying families with needs, and laundry supplies will be given away this Friday at the Noma facility on 85 Walnut from 2 to 3 p.m. First come, first serve. And finally, it is important that I highlight the importance of going to get your flu shot and your COVID vaccine. They can be administered at the same time. As you know, Omicron has come into Broome, and there's no better level of protection than to be fully vaccinated. So I would implore all of my colleagues to go get vaccinated as well. So have a good afternoon, good evening, and we will see you the week of Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Councilwoman Friedman.
Thank you, Madam President. I don't really have much to report this week. I hope everyone had a nice break, and happy belated Hanukkah to anybody who was celebrating. It was pretty early this year. It was like 2 days after Thanksgiving. I think it was on Thanksgiving a few years ago, maybe 2 years ago. Usually it's in December. So for those of you that were celebrating, I hope you had a happy Hanukkah. And besides that, I don't really have anything to report. So I guess that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilman Burns, you're up.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to give kudos to the Parks Department and the Mayor's office for this, for Rec Park. They had the Santa in the Park, the Christmas, the carousel, the winter carousel.
and I took the 4 grandkids, and it was something, it was as if we took a Norman Rockwell painting and imitated it, but we didn't. It was actually Norman Rockwell would have painted our town, you know, and it was quite beautiful. The carousel going, they had Santa, they had a horse drawn rides in the wagon, and they had like a hayride type thing with a tractor. And it was just unbelievably beautiful. It was just wonderful. And I would love to see us be able to do that on each side of town. I know that, you know, maybe the horse draw, you know, because the horses could stay in the park. And I know that we may not be able to figure that out on each side of town, but it just was such a wonderful community event. I mean, and it was so many people. I ran into so many old friends there, and bringing their grandchildren and children, and it was just wonderful. And so my hat's off to anybody and everybody that had anything to do with putting it together. So thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, I wanted to just kind of pick up what you just said, Councilman Burns. I totally agree with you. It was almost magical. It was just so beautiful to see the holiday spirit in the community, and folks in the community with their kids and grandkids enjoying our parks. I encourage folks to continue to go and enjoy the holiday lights and festivities that are happening. I wanted to also say that so many people have reached out and expressed their just how happy they are to now also have the ice rink at the park, and which brings back apparently a lot of memories for folks, as we used to have one decades ago. And I drove by the other day, just looked beautiful, kids and adults skating and having a whole lot of fun. I encourage the community to utilize that, and my colleagues as well, to get on those skates and go out there and have some fun on the ice rink. I wanted to also say thank you to DPW for everything that they do, for just taking care of our streets, for bringing away winds the other day. Garbage was all over the place. It was busy, gotten a lot of calls, and just a big thank you to all of you out there. Last week, the classes, the BU exams are coming up, I believe next week. A big congrats to those who are putting that check mark next to this semester as well. And stay safe, enjoy the cold weather, and we'll be seeing each other before the upcoming holidays. Have a good night. Oh, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. I think that was a second, right? Okay, thanks.
Good night.
Meeting
everybody.
adjourned. Have a good night.